Well, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a brand new episode of Sonic Conversations. Man, we come far, man. Like, I can't believe we're by episode 5 already. From covering the whole pack or collection of the Sabbath movement to now we're by track 7. How? I don't know, you know? But I'm pretty excited, more or less, for us to really decipher, the special single of the project. Quite a unique production as well, as a standalone track as well. But yeah, man, I'm joining the amazing Gabi Motuba, Yeah, how you doing?
Thank you.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you? I'm a bit tired, but I'm good.
I can imagine. I mean, after Saturday show, was it Saturday or Sunday? Hey guys, me and timelines.
Saturday. It was Saturday.
I worry for myself sometimes. Like I easily forget timelines. Like I get them confused. Like this week I was having a conversation with a friend, and they asked me like, "Yo, Doug, what were you getting up to over the weekend? Because you were hella busy." I'm like, I attended a jazz fest, right? They asked me, like, okay, where? I'm like, nah, in Joburg, right here by Joburg Zoo. It was my very first time going to the zoo, by the way. I've never been to a zoo in my life.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's dope, right? It's really nice.
Hella dope, beautiful aesthetic. I think, if anything, the people organizing the event, knew how to select the best part of the zoo to showcase.
Yeah.
Even though I worried a bit because where the stage was, right around the corner, there was a young lioness cage, where the lions are kept. I'm like, yeah, one wrong move,
and
guys.
The hyenas. That's true.
Hey, one wrong move. And I've heard stories about animals jumping out, go the zoo. So hey, to say the least. But got to also experience that, like, kind of like see lions taking a nap also, because I got lost at some point when I was looking for the entry point. So it was kind of like a very, 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 very beautiful setting. I think they really selected, a really amazing venue, an amazing lineup as well, like great acts. The crowd was also amazing vibes. They really reciprocated.
Yes,
it was just something else when I saw that, But tell me on your experience, because you performed live. I know I came late.
You did.
I missed the performance because when you texted me, when you said 12:30, because I sent you the voice and I'm like, yo, when are you guys planning on going to the event, right? But at 12:30, and I remember, I don't know why, my mind, for some odd reason, I recall you saying 3:30, something like that, 8 o'clock.
I did. They changed me. You know what? You were right. We got the revised artist lineup the day before, and they moved me from 3 o'clock to 12:30. I do have to say I was a little bit disappointed, because I was like, that's so early. That's like so early, and I wasn't sure that like enough people were gonna have arrived to be able to see me, to see the music. But I ended up going on at about 1 o'clock, and I have to say I was like pleasantly surprised. It was like 60% of the people had already arrived. People arrived super early, like they didn't want to miss anything. So I had quite a decent crowd, and it was really beautiful. But I preferred the 3 o'clock though.
Yeah, no, I won't lie though. I felt like it was a little bit, because when you said, I thought I was going crazy, I was like, bruh, what do you mean? I remember she said, nigga, I'm performing, I have 3. Now I'm like, sharp. So that's why I left a bit late at my house. But when I saw that you already performed, I was like, okay, I can somewhere leave at whatever time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because she's
for
the person I
sure.
was initially going to see performed. You know what I mean? So let me go
Was
see what the
not
vibes are
even-
there.
Yeah.
I was like, damn, bro, these guys are doing us. I thought I was going crazy for a moment, but for once, I got my times right.
No, your times were right. Your times were right. It's just that, like, yeah, they changed their stuff last minute, and they
That's
decided
messed
to.
up.
But but it's okay. I think also, I think it was really good because before me, obviously, it was like a school choir, and it was Brafea Faku. So yeah, it was just like it was a beautiful atmosphere, and people I think really got to listen to my music, and people who haven't heard me before really got to like immerse themselves in the artist that I am, in the music that I make. So I think it was good. I think it was perfect the way actually it planned out. It panned out.
I'm glad. I mean, you came outfit fully. There's something else, eh? I saw that outfit. I'm like, nah. This nigga does like no. So you guys.
You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying?
Y'all better watch out.
Like,
but
better watch out, yo.
But it seems like it was an amazing experience, man. I mean, look. Also, there's something I realized also, right? Even with how they created the lineup, at some point in time, I don't know how, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they found themselves kind of like going above the time. So you find that like some stuff, like some performers that were supposed to perform at a particular time, performed later than expected, right?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
honestly speaking, as I said, man, like, the crowd, the people that I encountered, like I told you, they literally couldn't stop raving. Like, yo, man, Gabi Motuba's performance was amazing. Like, I don't think there's anybody who topped that in the afternoon after that.
Yeah.
Like, for me personally, it's like I did not see anyone who was, based on people's reaction, people were mind blown, But
thank you so much.
the one thing that I give them props for also is how they kind of like selected unique acts. There was this other guy, I can't remember his name. His surname is Mkwevo. He came through with the Bob Marley type of tip. He came through with the reggae. I'm like, that's not jazz.
Yes.
It's a different sound, right? But I have to, I'm sorry, I know this is a conversation, but I have to give Amanda Black her flowers.
Yeah.
I was mesmerized. I was like, there's no way. Like, you have to understand, right? The amount of energy you need to have, vocally on top of that. Like, performing is tiring. Let alone performing with the band.
It really is.
It's exhausting to the body. You find after 3 tracks already, you're like, yo, hand on
Yeah.
But she was consistent and vocally, I was like, sheesh. And she
Amanda is so talented. Amanda's really talented.
And the synergy with her band, I give them that, the synergy. She performed right before Utandiswa, right?
Yeah.
And I won't lie, Utandiswa's performance was a performance, but I wasn't moved. I was like, after seeing that.
Oh, don't say that. No, you have to be moved by Kinta. You have to be.
No, look, Utandiswa deserves a flower. Don't get me wrong, nah? Her performance was unique. It was something that I haven't seen in a while, right? Mainly because it's like, yo, the way she played with her vocals with the opening, you know what I mean? She gave it a kick of African tradition, you know what I mean? Like I don't know what they call it. It's like a chant or hululation, something like that, right? And
she uses like those indigenous kind of sounds in her music and in her sound.
She killed it, man. Mara. Think about it. It's like, okay, look at it like this, right? It's like having a Tandiswa perform right after a Ricky Rick. As soon as a Ricky would come through with the heavy
Oh,
energy.
I see. Yeah,
You feel
because they're like a bit more commercial, a bit more. Yeah, I get
But-
you. A bit more mainstream.
But outside of even mainstream, right? You've got a Ricky who's coming through with the band, but the end, like, he's so hyped. Let me put it like that. Like, you're hyping up the audience, right? Only for you to come through and you're calming them down. So for me, it was like, I thought she would amplify that level of thing. I'm not saying her performance was not amazing. It was, right?
I see.
But
I see.
at the same
The
time, I was like,
energy.
yeah, it's like, nigga, did you just see what you're following? Like, do you see? Like, nigga, ain't no way you're just gonna be coming through with the relaxation. Nigga, hype the crowd up. At some point, she did hype the crowd up. I give it that.
I know it.
But I'm
You're
like,
gonna come with the relaxation.
I was like, no way, bruh. What do you mean? So I reflect on that, and like, just even the performance before, there was Ipupolo. I can't remember the band's name.
Biko.
Yeah, and they were unique. One of my friends was like, yo, dog, come into Jazz, I want you to hear this. This is flipping amazing. These guys are amazing. You know what I mean? And I heard them. I'm like, okay, I see, but I see what you're talking about. And then before, there was this other band. There's a guy who was playing like a trumpet or something, and he had like this band member who was playing the keys, like piano, right? And his eyes were closed, right? I didn't even know. I did not know. Homie was blind.
That was the song.
Yeah, I'm thinking homie's showing off. I'm like, yo, this pianists show off a lot with closing their eyes and playing keys. Sheesh, nigga,
What
doing
are
the
you talking
most.
about? Yeah, no, he's blind, but he's a brilliant piano player. Brilliant.
And I give him that. Though I was mind blown when I discovered that. I'm like, whoa. He's not even missing a key. This man is the transition to each song.
Yes.
You think like, yo, guys, these guys are playing one song throughout, and it's just progressing, and
For sure.
honestly speaking, I got to discover new acts. I got to discover new amazing jazz,
Nice.
contributors. I was mind blown. Even what's that guy's name? Something Zulu, Ntuto Zulu, Ntutu Zulu.
Ndabo
Zulu, yes. He had this crazy opening where he recreated Blackie's Sega, right? But there's something, this is sick. This had like the robotic, if that makes sense. Like there's like
the
voice
electronic
type of
sound.
thing. I literally, I immediately when I heard that, right, I captured that and I sent it over to Blackie. I'm like, yo, Chief, do you hear this? Do you see this? And he's like, yo, I need to do something that's crazy. One of these days I need to perform at a jazz fest or something. I'm like, Chief, do something that a lot of hip-hop guys are scared to do, bro. Collaborate.
Yeah.
These jazz guys are amazing, and they prioritize quality above quantity.
Yes.
But
yes.
even when I left, when I asked my friends, I'm like, okay, who was the best performer here? They said, okay, I give it to Gabi. You know what I mean? And then they give it to Ndudu. Hey guys, I'm butchering names. I'm sorry.
Hold on. Who's that?
The Zulu guy.
What do you mean?
Ozulu.
Oh, Ndabo. Yes.
Ndabo
yes.
Zulu.
Yes.
You took the cup, and Ndabo took the cup, and then a lot of people are obviously excited for
For Tandis.
what's her name? Tandiswa. There were prize killers there to see Tandiswa towards the end. But a beautiful experience, For me, my friends were like, yo, we're judging. His parents were still out here with their kids, at night. It's like 10 p.m., nigga. But they were rocking. They were rocking. Kids were still in school uniform, But the beautiful part is that you could see it's families. Families took their time to come enjoy, and the parents were there to say, yo, I want you to also discover great music. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I don't want you to
Yeah.
just be listening to Boomerang Parfait, like, bo yo all the
Exactly.
time, It's
Exactly.
like give, like understand like there's far more out, great music in South Africa outside of just like the great rap, the great R&B, you know what I mean? There's actual music in Africa that represents us culturally. And I think when I saw that level of unity, man, and I saw how each and every, like it's a whole community, man, it was something beautiful to see, man.
Yeah.
It was my first ever jazz experience ever, like jazz, event, like me attending a full-on
Yeah.
jazz event from start to end. But I'm grateful, man. I'm really
For
thank you
sure.
for adding me to the list. In crazy enough,
Definitely.
I didn't even get accreditation. I literally just walked in. The lady helped me. I told her, hey, I'm with Gabi, and I'm thinking, yo, she's gonna say, but the artist has performed already. That lady didn't even care, man. It's like, alright, cool, dude. Get into the shuttle. I'll take you over. I'm like, yeah.
Nice.
I get to the
Nice.
gate. I'm thinking they're gonna be like, tag. They never asked for no tag. Like, I was shook out. I'm like, wait, did I just walk into a festival without a tag?
Yeah. It was beautiful. I think it was one of the, like, in the beginning, it's a good way to open the year. But I think for myself, it was one of the best curated jazz festivals thus far, like an outdoors kind of jazz festival. It was really spot on, like in terms of the, like you say, artist lineup, the organizing, the venue selection, the food, the stalls, the culture.
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't
the
know
young
about the food,
people.
though.
It was really dope. It was really
I don't
dope.
know about the food, depending on where you bought, though. Like, I gave them, they had options of stalls, nah?
Yeah, they had options. They had hella options.
I don't know, like party.
You didn't like the
I bought from Hunger and not from Logic. Regular plate there 120, nah? To say the least,
You are an plate there one guys.
the food was pop.
It wasn't
No,
proper.
no pun intended.
Yeah,
But
that
the
was
food-
I played it. That was gonna be a bit too much for me.
Yeah, but the food, I didn't enjoy it. Like, I got halfway, nah? And I was like, nah, at least probably the kitchen I went to, nah? Okarabankile shortcut, like there was no flavor in the meat,
Yeah, no.
But I give, like, you're right. They went all out with the bar system. I saw, like, people were like, those are people that were drinking. It was efficient for them to go.
It
and
was
say,
so
"Yo,
efficient. It was so efficient. There was so many. Yeah, because like they just didn't. I think they didn't skim on like hiring as many people as possible, in order for there not to be long lines or
True.
too much like chaos. It just didn't seem chaotic. And I mean, I
Yeah, no.
didn't leave so late. We left at about 6 before some of the acts. But it was still super controlled. It was not chaotic. It was really nice. It was a friendly family environment. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, it was accommodative. I mean, look,
It was
also
accommodating,
safety.
yeah,
Safety.
and safety, exactly. Because we came with our daughter, she felt safe, and also like after the show, we got to roam around and see some of the animals at the zoo, and just like feel we were like this. I think it is because also the zoo is such a big, like such a big place, so
It is.
even if it was packed at the festival, there was still empty spots like around the zoo where you could literally just take a walk. And I really appreciated that. That was really nice.
And I mean,
yeah, kudos to Jazz in the Lights. That was a beautiful festival.
True. But also, that's like family time. I think that's one thing that makes it beautiful, right? You got to utilize that moment also to spend time with family, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
You also got to also see animals, certain animals that you might have not seen
Exactly.
before, maybe, So it's like that thing of like, hey, look at the giraffe, or hey, look, Look at the zebra. Even though I felt like those zebras were not friendly, I think I've seen friendlier zebras, let's say. Them zebras look like they were ready to jump. They were ready to like, hey, but private, any moment now, there's a fight. It's going down. But it's really something like they went all out. They from even when you entered, you felt safe because the environment of the area itself as a whole is secured. From the gate, you know what I mean, to the stage, and then back to the gate. It's a seamless process, man. Like, I don't think I've ever attended a festival that's that structured. Like, that was structured. Like, I don't even think niggas' phones would disappear because
exactly. That's true.
That's how safe it is,
That's true.
Take it to a hip hop concert, you'll see. Hey, no, people's hands now start to get itchy now at the hip hop concerts. So, phones in
no, I
display.
think
Guys,
it was
where's my
there was
phone?
just a lot of and also it was just a beautiful vibe. I think also ever since COVID, people really appreciate a good situation, like a good vibe. People really appreciate now safety, and I think like we look out for one another. Like there's a sense of community, even if people don't know each other. Like people want this good thing to continue because I think we went through an era or a time whereby there was absolutely nothing in terms of like Joburg recreationally, in the city. And like even the other day with the other hip hop festival, people were raving about it. I didn't go, but there was like a hip hop festival that happened I think 2 weeks ago, and like people were raving about it. It was like it was such a beautiful vibe. People got to see familiar faces, and I think as young, even old Joburg residents, we really want to conserve these good events, like these events that like hopefully happen regularly or annually. But we're also, I think civilians are also like actively trying to make it a safe and enjoyable situation for everyone. Like that's the feeling I get. I feel as though like there's a consensus and agreement around us wanting to make sure that these kinds of festivals happen as often as possible.
True.
So I think because there was a time where there was nothing, bro. Like, and there was a time where we took these things for granted.
True. I mean, it's a cultural thing more than anything. It's also a thing that you get to explore how the world is evolving around you. Because as human beings, we there's certain things we're not prone to be exposed to. You know what I mean? Certain changes we might not be, exposed to. You know what I mean? Or that we might experience. Because of where we are in life. So it's like, for example, you go to Bram, right? You look at how Bram has changed. Like Bram never used to be like
exactly. Yes,
Bram
exactly.
is bougie now. It's bougie. Kids are just it's not the same. Bram is literally becoming bougie. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Because it's encapsulating its very own culture, right? But it's also a thing of time. Because remember, the Bram we know versus the Bram they will know is two different Brams. I got to experience the Bram that like was really that Bram. You know what I mean? But that Bram was also messy, for really being honest. What made it cool was it was a rebellious type of environment. People were free to do whatever they want to do. You know what I mean? You were flexible to go explore certain activities. Within Bramfontein because of how like it was full of activity places. You know what I mean? There was a lot of clubs out in the streets of Juta towards the end. Juta. You know what I mean? There was like a variety of things. When you see that place where it's now known as playground, not the play, nah? Before then, it was known as there's such a name to it. I think it was Play Market, something like that. I don't know if you remember how the marketplace used to be like. Before they obviously revamped the place, now it's like a whole, yeah, they just took it up a notch, like too much, right? But you look at that, it's like it's evolved for the newer generation, right? And they're experiencing a more safe
Yes.
Braamfontein,
Yes.
a more calm Braamfontein. Like they can go party
Yeah.
safely. They can go to a nightclub like Drama to go party. I mean, look, phones will still go get stolen regardless. It's that shit can happen anyway, right? But
Well,
you look at
we try for that not to happen. That's also the
yeah,
thing, you know.
yeah, but it's also evolved to a point where those happen less and less because people
Exactly.
are in better positions now. You know, especially even students, they're in better positions where it's like I can afford. Also, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
There's opportunities for jobs now in Bram. I can go work at a restaurant on a weekend and make myself an extra buck.
Exactly.
As opposed to
Exactly.
before, there was a lot more gatekeeping that was happening, you know, where it was more difficult for students to get jobs in Bram because there were barely those opportunities. So now you're forced to do what? You're forced to, you know, for an extra buck, you know, so you can cover certain costs. So that's why I'm like, Braamfontein has evolved to an extent where it's safer. You know what I mean? You look at the Tom's shop. I mean, the Tom's shop, I think at some point they shifted, right? Like, I could swear they moved across the road at some point.
That's it.
If I'm not mistaken, yeah, I could. I recall them being what they call within the same road or vicinity of Juta, unless if I'm remembering wrong, right? But it's still a go-to place. Like it's still active because there's still students who are going there to buy equipment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of people who are artists and exploring the whole art journey. You know, they're going to buy guitars or drums because there's more establishments that allow them to do that. You can go and say, yo guys, can I please get a gig here? I want to perform here, perform, play live instrumental, whatever at the site. So times have changed, you know, and
They
that's I'm like
have.
what we experienced at the festival is really just an eye-opening moment to say, yo, environments have changed, how people party has changed, how people engage
Yes.
with art or music or life has changed. Now people are more engaging. Because back then people used to just sit by aim. Like I think my generation, right? We used to just at some point there was a time or phase we're experiencing where people just stand and watch. But today's time is like, yo, even if I don't know the song, we're dancing. You know,
Yeah,
we're
man. I'm
participating.
here to have fun.
You know what I mean? I didn't buy
Yeah.
and spend 5 clipper just so I can keep a statue. Keep a statue. No.
Value for
Like,
money. Even your
yeah,
happiness is within that ticket price.
yeah. But
And
thing
monati
is,
wa iketsetsa, and monati wa iketsetsa. So if you're
true.
gonna
Got a
be
point.
all like, you know what I mean? If you're gonna be all like, I don't want to be seen doing da 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 da. Yeah, I think definitely the attitude also has changed in terms of, you know, just appreciating these kind of moments. No, there's a lot of appreciation going on, and like you're saying, this is so true. We actually seeing Braam evolve in real time. Just like we saw, I think, places like Maboneng deteriorate in real time. You know what I mean? Like, it was first this cultural precinct where there was like just so much culture going around. And then, just like in the span of maybe 5 years, we just saw a completely different Maboneng than what people had intended or what people had in mind, you know? I mean, I was there the other day when I had a gig and I just wanted to, you know, explore that part of Joburg. And barely anyone came to the gig because there's this rhetoric now that like Maboneng is not safe. There's too many clubs, like you can't really listen, like you can't really have a good time in a controlled kind of way, you know. There's just like this kind kind of looming sense of like unsafety that was not there before, you know. And only after the fact, after the gig, I realized that sure, like, you know, the perception of Maboneng has changed so much from, like, you know, 10 years ago, when we would just go there and we were glad to be there, and it was safe and people walked around, you know, and there'd be gigs, you know, at, I think, Pata Pata or something like that. There would be, you know, small jazz kind of you know, little pockets of like of performances on each like nook, you know. And it was also kind of family, it was supposed to be family kind of orientated, but over the years it's really changed super drastically. So yeah, I mean, other parts are improving, other parts are deteriorating, but I think also just, you know, being able to see the trend in that, like, whenever young people move into a space, it somehow seems to go through this, you know, this evolutionary change, not just because of the young people, but because also parents somehow invest in that space. Like, I think that's what we're seeing in Brahm, you know, because now these parents have taken these kids to the universities, and obviously there's so much like student accommodation around Braamfontein, and there's so much student movement that, like, the parents of these children, I think, somehow are also investing in it being like a safe kind of environment, you know. So I think this is what we're seeing, and it's really beautiful to see. I mean, Braamfontein is a really dope place to kind of have these cultural activations.
I mean, it's becoming what Maboneng couldn't be, right? Because Maboneng was
what was supposed to
else.
be. Yeah, it was like what Maboneng was supposed to be, you know.
Because Maboneng was a art precinct.
Yes.
Yeah. It's so sad.
That's really, it's really sad, you know. It's really sad now. Yeah, now it's like completely different. Art is not a priority as it was before. Now it's like very, very mainstream, commercial, you know, kind of like that club life, you know. Yeah, that kind of, yeah, that one that like that one that day, yeah, we don't want that one.
But would you say it's the same thing as, you know, like how Doornfontein was once? Obviously Doornfontein is a part of Maboneng, right? But there's a part, I don't know if you see Victoria Yards.
Yes.
Why one of Victoria Yards? Have you seen how beautiful Victoria Yards is?
It's amazing. Oh my goodness, Victoria Yards is amazing.
But it's as if it's not in Doornfontein, and Doornfontein is where it is. It's literally just on the edge of Hillbrow. It's on the edge of Hillbrow, close to Boma. No, Yeoville is on the other side. Yeoville is on that side.
Yeah, Yeoville is up the road.
Yeah,
from Victoria Yards.
Yeah, but it's also the thing, it's on the edge of Hillbrow. I don't think people understand this thing. It's like, you can't even go and enjoy Victoria Yards. It's not a night venue. It's not a venue you go to at night. It's a venue you go to during the day, because it's more for family activities. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's like the worst place to even find yourself, your car breaking down.
Well, I mean, don't exaggerate.
Huh?
Don't exaggerate. Like, is that because it's Yeoville. What's the surrounding neighborhoods? So from Victoria, it's Yeoville, it's Troyville as well. It's Hillbrow, yes. Yeah, it's obviously Doornfontein. But I mean, I think people also don't realize the historical like significance of the neighboring areas there. It's like we were saying, you know, when there's like an influx of young people in a particular area, it also kind of activates that space. I mean, Troyville Yeovil, and Yeovil had like Rocky Street. Apparently, in the 60s, this was the place to be. Yeovil was like every cultural person wanted to make their way through Yeovil. Places like Troyville, places like Hillbrow. It's not the Hillbrow that we see today. And like we say, like some places have deteriorated and some places have been somehow activated. But what we're seeing is that when there's like universities that are, I guess, also supporting the ecosystem of that place. I think also this is why Victory Yard has a potential, is because just nearby is UJ. UJ has like a very big presence in Doornfontein. And if UJ maybe perhaps like can say that, we're going to start creating, I guess, like, student accommodations around these areas, you would see like in real time, I think, improvement in terms of service delivery, in terms of, just security presence, in terms of people walking around the street. You would see that improvement in real time. And that's what we're seeing the trend being, like in terms of Honorable Braamfontein. And that's what we're seeing a lack of in places like Maboneng. I think these universities are also so central to, the safety of that space, and also like of the cultural activation of that area. So I think we're gonna be pleasantly surprised, hey? Like with Victory Yard, we're gonna be pleasantly surprised. Like we're gonna start seeing some changes, some positive changes in those neighborhoods in the next maybe 5 to 10 years. Like we were saying, like 5 years ago, places like Braam was like, it was not what it was now. You know what I mean?
Was
5, 10 years, Braam was not Braam. Braam was something else. 5, 10 years ago, Maboneng was not Maboneng. It was something else. So I think in about 5, 10 years, we're gonna see a drastic improvement in these neighborhoods. Yeah, so that's how culture works. I think really culture is young people. Where young people are comfortable being, they kind of revive that place.
That makes sense. Seeing like even going back, it's like seeing young people at a jazz fest. So, but then in that case,
that means jazz has a future.
Sheesh. Okay.
Yay! Yeah, I think that's what it means. Jazz has a serious future. In the next 5-10 years, you're gonna be. We can dream, right? We can dream.
True.
Jazz is gonna be like. This is what we always say, like as jazz musicians, to see like jazz royalty. Like how hip hop has this hip hop royalty, kind of like these hip hop figures that are really at the top of their game, but also not just at the top of their game, but resources are also being made available for them to be at the top of their game. I think that's what's going to happen with jazz music and alternative music and creative music. Where you're going to be seeing institutions really pouring their resources into these genres, into these spaces, and you're going to be seeing really wealthy or well-to-do young artists occupying and dominating the space. You know what I mean? Hopefully we won't do the lavish thing of like buying, all these what do you call these big cars? AMGs.
Oh no.
And
see there.
You know what I'm saying? Hey?
It's deteriorating money there. Like I feel
like yeah, it's
wasting
hip hop like but that's not even the point though. We're not trying to say how you can spend your money though. We're trying to speak about
like the gold chain. The gold chain. You have to understand.
Listen, let me tell you something.
Let me tell you something.
If I had the cash, my nigga, let me tell you something. I'm not quick to judge because I feel like when I feel like thinking like, man, shit. If I had the cash, man, I would spend a good percentage, a good amount on like some grills or some, or you know, like you know what I mean? Like I would do that. I would do that.
But Jazz is like Opera Hue and Grills. What? But I get you though. I mean,
Bruh,
look,
I can better
it's-
we are saying.
God's
I
why.
can better we are saying that. I can better we are saying that with the influx of a new energy within this genre. I mean, it's like we also have to take seriously that yes, it is jazz. Yes, is like a genre that we can say is more attributed to like older people. Yes, that is true. Like when you think about jazz, you think about old people.
True.
But when young people occupy this genre, the young people are still young people first. You know what I mean? They're still young people first occupying this genre that so happens to have this, you know, this imagery of kind of like an older presence, you know. So I think we should first take seriously that like if young people occupy this genre, they are young people first, and young people have young people things, even if they would be participating within this, you know, this jazz genre. So I wouldn't be surprised, like if, you know, in 5 years, you know, 5-10 years, we're gonna be seeing young people, you know, coming up, like people of like Kujenga, and you know some of these young bands who are really living kind of like a young people lifestyle. And the young people lifestyle is that opulence, is that culture, but is that money, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? But it's like they're still amazing jazz musicians. They're contributing to the jazz lineage and the jazz tradition, but they're still young. Like their age hasn't changed, you know what I mean? And with age comes a particular taste, you know, in whatever, in culture, in clothing, in style, in fashion. And yeah, I mean, like you're seeing it now, you know, even with us, we're a little bit, I mean, we're not old, but we're kind of like we just at the cusp of making it out of like the youth, you know,
True.
bracket. But you can even see our style, like we're super young compared to the old jazz masters, you know, and we bring a particular flair, a particular energy to this genre, you know, like we're not molding ourselves and making ourselves older just because we're occupying this space, you know what I mean?
I get you.
Yeah,
I mean,
so
it's a thing of if it's a part of you, it's a part of you. That type of thing. Like
exactly.
if you like rings, go spoil yourself with rings. I get you. I mean,
You understand? Exactly.
don't limit
You know
yourself
what I
from your
mean?
money. I get you. I mean, look,
Exactly.
it's just always scary, man. Because look, jazz artists are the most expensive individuals.
You
That's-
think so?
Yeah, y'all niggas are charging with my 150 grand. Who else do you know that's
Oh
charging
yeah, you mean
that
oh
much?
yeah, definitely.
Not even
yeah.
hip hop guys aren't even you know charging that much, you know, unless if you're coming through with a heavy catalog, you know what I mean? Your
Yeah.
Georgia Smiths are not even charging, you know, that much locally, you know, at the you know what I mean, within Europe or UK, you know what I mean, unless if it's a big catalog type of thing. So it's really the thing of jazz artists in general, even those that are not known, they charge you
Yeah,
a ridiculous
that's true.
amount of money.
That's true.
You know,
That's true.
because they know
Yeah.
their value. They're like, nigga, I'm gonna charge you 300,000 rands because I'm coming with the 8-piece band, chief.
Exactly.
300,000, you're gonna get an amazing performance. If you see me perform, I'll give you that performance. So,
have you seen me though? Have you seen me though? Yeah. Your people, your people, and that's the thing, like, because there's value there, right? Like we're saying, like, if we take Jazz in the Lights, which has happened now, and the amazing lineup, and how people also were really, really kind of excited about what it is that they were seeing on stage, you definitely know that next year you're gonna have like 20% more in sales because of this experience. You know what I mean?
True.
So I think that's true. Like jazz musicians, especially young ones, or ones who are really having like a really fresh energy, are really kind of very influential in shaping the trajectory of a particular thing. We give a particular thing quite like good mileage, so and I think that people only like organizers and stuff only complain because there's such a small budget for jazz, like we're saying, but if the young people, I think, really shift the North Star and say that, listen, jazz is where it's at in terms of culture, in terms of young people, in terms of youth culture, and all these kind of fundings have to align with that. And once they do, me charging 300,000 won't be a problem, because like there are resources made available for this genre, just like we were seeing it in hip-hop. It's not to say that some people are charging a lot of money or anything like that within hip-hop, but it's just that people are able to, because there are so much resources being made available for the hip-hop industry, for the hip-hop culture, that enables people to be able to say, okay, I have this catalog, so I can charge half a bar, or I'm gonna bring these many people, so I can charge 400, 300K. You know what I mean?
Makes sense.
Yeah,
Makes sense.
I think it really, it's all about the systematic structure that is helping a particular industry. It's not about individuals and how much they charge. That's not where the value is created. The value is created when everyone is in agreement to say that, okay, now jazz is the North Star. And once everyone is in agreement to that, you're going to be finding people who charge any amount of money, and that wouldn't be it wouldn't kind of be like it wouldn't off-put some people, or you know what I mean, because the resources have been made available.
True. Got a point. You've got a point. I won't lie. I mean, it's also the thing of I kind of like knowing how far you're willing to take it as an individual, career-wise, life-wise as a whole as well, because a lot of younger people, we're seeing a surge in younger people taking more risks, you know what I mean, with very low reward sometimes, but it pays off in the long run, and really won't pay off with immediate results. And that's the thing I'm really even viewing jazz in, the type of I am viewing jazz in. It's like you guys are able to really establish yourself in a manner where it's like you take the most boldest moves ever, right? And you don't see immediate reward or immediate results, right? How many years did it take you until you got to where you are right now? It took you years, right? You know what I mean? Probably over a decade. You feel me? To get to where you are, right?
Yeah.
Because you've been pushing more outside of just the professional level of you just refining it and say I'm professional jazz artist. It's like you've been doing a lot more before you got to that, right?
Yeah.
And you understood your value even then. You know what I mean? When you said I'm charging 5 clipper, I'm charging 5 clipper. You wanna hear this voice say, nigga? pay me my $500 and I'll give you a 5-minute performance. I'll sing.
Pay me.
Pay me my money. So
Yeah.
it's those things, and really like understanding your sound, right? And
For sure.
even with that, like how you put it, like younger people understanding the way forward. They're changing how things are done, not in a chaotic manner, but in a very calm and very solution-based manner, right?
For
Similar to, and then the reason why I'm even tapping into that is like, how would you then say, this is the first truth, bitter as it may be, was then culturally inspired? And here's why
like,
I'm asking that. Nah? The song is different. Like amongst all the songs, I mean, we can listen to the Requiem. Hey, look at me getting that right.
Yay.
But with the Requiem version, right? You are vocal, but there's breaks in between with like the instrument. Like the Requiem is like you're singing without an instrument, right?
Yeah.
And then there's the instrument, accompanying that after, and then you go back, right? We don't hear much of your actual singing voice until now, where you're singing over a whole instrumental and really you're harmonizing. I don't know if those are the right words to use, nigga, but yeah, you know what I mean. You are coming through with like the right harmonies, right melodies, but it's just it's a song that's rich in lyricism.
For sure.
It's a song that's rich in lyricism.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And you can tell that it's really centered around the modern times. But take just gradually, how would you say that song was inspired by the culture?
I think like we were touching, if we just back up a bit, the title of the song was taken by Steve Biko's I Write What I Like. And this is a quote that he makes mention of in the book. And as I was reading it, it jumped out at me, and I thought that this is so powerful, and it's in alignment with like what it is that I'm thinking about in the process of putting this project together. But like we were saying and speaking about how young people kind of present that North Star and change the compass. Well, Steve Biko, they were those leaders. They were the ones who were super, super active within the academy in order to, kind of chart a new thinking way for young black people. They were kind of like our North Star. I'm just also trying to like think about it in terms of the presence of like young people and young discourse and young conversation and where that takes us. And I think that even when I was thinking about this song, I mean, there were so many young people who influenced me to write this body of work. The other person is Cecil McLaurin Salvant. So she has this beautiful song called Le Front Caché. It's a French song that she has. And the first couple of chords, I borrowed actually from that song to create this tune. Yeah, I just loved that piece so much. And I remember in varsity I transcribed it and I sang it for my final. It was really really beautiful. And Cecil is also those young people. She's kind of like also changing the trajectory of young singers in terms of how we think about singing, and she's really changing up that North Star, whereas like previously also, like we were saying, for jazz musicians in this traditional kind of way of thinking, even singers have a traditional way of presenting themselves within jazz, right?
True.
Either it would be like through the long dresses, or that old kind of style. But Cecil is like switching it up, and she's this art person who's occupying this jazz genre, and she's influencing so much of that connection. She's like influencing so much of that culture into the way that she understands and practices and performs jazz music. So I was also just trying to make that connection, because I was just thinking it's important for us to. Sorry, let that pass. Okay, cool. I think it's also important for me to also make mention that there's such an importance in the presence of young people and the contribution of young people. And Tupac said this. He's like, you ain't never seen a over 30-year-old trying to change the world. You never seen that.
Sure.
Young people are the ones who are always. I mean, I'm sure he was exaggerating, but what he's trying to say is that there's so much energy in the youth that can really shift a lot of the traditional ways of thinking, being, practicing that we've experienced previously, and that had, like I'm saying, that had a lot to do. Young people had a lot to do with how I think about lyrics and how I think about writing this song. This is the first truth, bitter as it may be. And also just ideologically, like this idea of this is the first truth, links to, this idea of the law of first mention, which is the following song. But I mean, I say this to say it's like where change is possible is in the beginning, is how something starts, and the youth have a lot to do with that. They change when they enter. It's like they change how something starts from the moment that they enter a conversation. You know what I mean? Like you're saying, like I've been a jazz musician for so long, but only with this generation, with this Gen Z, and how they're entering the conversation of jazz, is it allowing for jazz music to take a different route. You know what I'm saying? So it's like how things start is so important, and only young people can start a thing, can start a perspective, can start a viewpoint, a POV. You know what I'm saying? So it's like that's what I was also trying to convey in this composition, in the lyrics specifically. I was trying to speak about it's important how things start, and that actually maps out how you experience the whole thing. And of course, like in this song I sing like you're saying, this is like the song where I'm mostly present because of the priority that I wanted to put on the lyrics, on the message, on this idea of like how things start is so important in setting the tone for a particular thing. And if you can just wait, like now I've been waiting for this moment to happen in jazz. You know what I mean? Like, yes, I was a jazz musician back then, but I had to wait for this moment. I had to wait for this Gen Z, collective to see this jazz genre and see its value in order for my value to be relevant. I always believed that jazz music was where it was at, but it's not just about me, it's about the system. It's about, is there a supporting idea that also comes into agreement with how I'm seeing the world and my perspective? And that's just a matter of time. So yeah, that was the lyrics. Like with Steve Biko and Cecil McLaurin Salvant, and also the subject matter of how things begin, the first truth, bitter as it may be. So in that instance, it was bitter, but the first truth can change,
Yo, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you still.
Did your headsets die?
No, the one side died.
Oh, I could
I'm
hear
left
like,
with the one other side.
it's going. I'm like, hey, man, which one is this one now? This fucking my virus. Oh man.
Are you back?
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
back. I can hear you 100%.
Yeah. So yeah, as I was saying, that was this track 7. This is
Nah,
the
that-
first truth, bitter as it may be. Yeah.
I mean, look, that's amazing because also the other thing is really relatability, and your sense of understanding of the newer generation in terms of how they value. Because a lot of jazz artists from back in the day, they still hold value to how people viewed their music back in the day, right? They refuse to really transition into the modern way of how the newer kids are consuming jazz. You know what I mean? I mean, let's be real.
Yeah.
It's not like in 2015 we had a surge of young people listening to jazz music like that, right? There wasn't a lot. They existed, but it wasn't as predominant as it is now because right now we're seeing younger people make jazz music. Back in the day, it
Exactly.
was like, nah, bro, I'm gonna go commercial. I'm gonna go, rap.
Exactly.
I'm gonna go R&B. I'm gonna take that route.
Yes.
I'm gonna go gospel. That's the most you'd get out of someone using a live band experience, if anything, right? And
Yeah.
that was hard for people to really see the value in it because it's like they didn't understand it. The information was not looking at us at face value like that. Like, as much as we can say, yeah, information was all over the place, but it was not looking at us at face value as opposed to today. Today's generation has the liberty or the leverage of going back and studying jazz musicians, formulas from back in the day, as much as like again varsities are embracing it, but it's a thing of like, yo, you can learn outside of school also. Take the
Yes.
time. You don't have to wait till you're at school to learn about jazz. You don't have to go grab a book
Exactly.
at a library to learn about jazz because there's so much information on the internet. There's so much information and so
Yes.
much sounds on the internet
On the
available
streets, yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
to explore. You can infuse. You
Exactly.
see,
Yeah,
these
you
are
don't have to.
guys.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, like you say, you don't have to. Yes, of course, the literature is one part, but someone has to teach you. Someone has to also interpret the literature, and this is what happens, within culture. Having the I guess the privilege of not just reading about artists like Fea Faku, but being able to see him, experience him in real time. That is how we make sense of what's been written. Someone needs to teach you. It can't just be your perspective and your interpretation of having read something.
True.
You have to have a teacher. You know what I mean? So, yeah, the Gen Z enters at such a beautiful moment, where there's literature, but also the masters are around and they're still doing their thing. It's not just like you know what I mean. It doesn't just like exist within an ideology. It's like real time. It's like I saw this individual. I saw Tandiswa. I saw Amanda Black. I saw Brafea Faku. I saw, you know what I mean? So that completely changes the culture and the experience and the teaching of that particular thing.
True. Damn. Look at us studying out here the new age and the old age eras. But I think also, I don't think music ages. Music, let me put it like this: great art can't age. It grows with the people, but I don't think it can never age or get old. Let me put it like that, right? In that whole philosophy of jazz music will always be jazz. No matter what we do, we can't change that the fact that is these guys are always doing quality music, right? And they're always prioritizing quality above quantity, and that's why
For sure.
we're seeing a surge in jazz musicians these days, or younger guys being inspired to host their own events for jazz artists to showcase the unknown talent, undiscovered or yet to be discovered talent. So it's really beautiful that the song alone was also dedicated or created with that whole analogy at mind. You know what I mean? To say, dude, I'm literally from this new era. You know what I mean? Of jazz artists. I'm learning and adapting with how jazz is being consumed, how jazz is growing. Because if you look back at like how our grandparents or great grandparents used to consume or perceive music, they didn't have the luxury of seeing a Brenda Fassie every day like that, like how we do. Okay, let me not say how we do, because it's not like we're seeing Brenda Fassie, but you can come from like the artists that are great.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We get to engage a lot with them. You know what I mean? You can find yourself in Bram at an event, and there you are, you're chilling with a Gabi Motuba, for example, right?
For sure.
And you don't even know it's Gabi Motuba. To you, it's just a regular human being. You're just having normal conversations, right? Until Gabi goes on stage and kills it. Then you're like, sheesh, nigga, I don't know you made music. You didn't tell me. You're telling me about asparaguses out here, Got your whole musician. Sheesh. So
For sure, yeah.
look at it from that aspect of they didn't have the luxury to see a Brahiu every day perform. That was an above and beyond type of luxury that people with money had, but also it's that thing of it was a luxury alone as a whole that you had time to go see a Brahiu perform, unless if you're going to those underground clubs. You know what I mean?
For sure.
So
For sure.
really, if you analyze it properly, it's like there has been unity throughout, but it just hasn't been the same. It's intensified now even more in today's era, because people embrace the sound, people embrace the quality, they embrace the art. And
Yeah.
like how you placed it, music, will how can I put it, man? Will always find the right ears for as long as you place yourself in the right places.
Amen.
Right? And
Yeah.
this alone, bro, like track 7 is something else, because one could literally confuse you for an alternative artist. That's how great your singing is. You know what I mean? Also how you play with your voice throughout the album also, you know what I mean? From how you're able to create an instrumental through just harmonies, where you just you're harmonizing, right? To you actually singing in the song, So I think overall, it's a different experience, and it's just something else, man. Like, shout out to you for acknowledging the youth also, further like how today's era of youth, kind of, perceives art. Shout out to you for also just contributing back, with that same level of effort and that same level of cherishment and love for the craft.
Thank
I
you.
don't think we have a lot of great individuals that are really pushing as much as you are pushing to really scale up towards that quality element. We really don't, if we're being honest with ourselves. They do exist, but we don't have many, because a lot of people are rushing to be famous, and they're not doing it to say, yo, I want to be a long-standing artist, I want to get to the Grammys. But how are you going to get to the Grammys? You need to create quality music. You don't need to be
For
famous.
sure. Exactly.
You just need to make music that people can resonate to, and that's it. Like, let it be great art. People will respect you, people will love you, people will support you, because why? You've got music that speaks to the people, and it's not just speaking to you alone.
Yes.
You know?
Exactly.
So it's amazing. I can tell that the headsets died. So to be safe.
Yeah. Yeah.
So to be safe, that just to close
Today's
it off.
convo was so generic. I feel like we just needed yeah,
Yeah, no, no.
we just spoke about the culture, um, and the influences of right now in Johannesburg, and the music, and where it's at, where the North Star is facing. But definitely I'm very excited about jazz, and the jazz genre in the next coming years. I think that we're going to see such amazing, people, artists first and foremost, ideas, creative music, is going to become very central to especially the Johannesburg art experience. And this is something that we've always wanted. This is something that we've always dreamed of. To be able to be the creatives that we are, but backed by the resources needed for us to really scale and really produce at a spectacular level. And I think that that's what we're going to be seeing in the next couple of years. I think Jazz in the Lights was really just a taste of what is to come in terms of the cultural kind of shift that we're seeing and experiencing in Johannesburg and in Cape Town as well. I know that I've been there I go to Cape Town quite often, and bands like Kujenga come from that side. There's also such really great movements, and what sound projects that are coming from places like UCT, UWC that's in Cape Town. Just like we're seeing such beautiful stuff coming from Wits, coming from UJ, coming from TUT. I think that the young people within these music institutions are really just contributing so much to the energy of this industry, and where there's energy, I know that there's potential. So this is really good that we're seeing so many projects really coming up, because it's giving that mileage that we need, that force that we need to be able to have jazz as like an established kind of industry. It can only mean good things, but of course it also means that there's going to be a lot of predatory nature, just like in any genre. Where there's resources, there's definitely also a need for that protecting the artist, protecting the artist's ideas, the IP. We're going to start seeing, I think, a lot of institutions that are specifically for, the protection of IP, the protection of music and the culture, and I think that it's just part of the ecosystem. You can't have the good without the bad. You can't have
True.
The spaces of affluence without those without those presences. They also help to kind of sharpen the industry in and of itself. So yeah, man, I'm excited for the next couple of years. I'm excited that the Sabbath has dropped when it did. I'm excited that I'm the age that I am. I actually have no regrets. I think that I have just enough history and experience to be able to really deliver something quite meaningful and impactful. But I'm also not too old where, I'm a bit out of touch. So I'm really excited for the future of jazz in South Africa, and of course globally, because the world has become so small.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed. And I mean, it's gonna be a very progressive one. because, dude, you're very focused, you're very driven, you work hard, you know what I mean, and you really, you know what you're doing, man. And God is really gonna bless, the fruits of your labor, more and more.
Thank you for that.
You know what I mean? It's gonna be an amazing journey, Nigga, you took it like you're 50. You're not 50. You're still young.
Hey, man.
You know?
I got some scars, some battle scars.
Sheesh. But nah, like, it's really that thing of, like, dude, you're a hard worker, you inspire many. You know what I mean? Including myself, because the amount of work you put in, dude, it's ridiculous. Sometimes I'll be like, yo, when does this person rest? She woke up today. Yo, I've got an idea. First thing I wake up to is a long video.
Grab a pen. I have something.
Like, I got something to drop, okay? I'm waking up, that's the first thing I'm seeing, a long voice note. I'm like, okay, I gotta prepare myself, because, means more work, my nigga. You know what I mean? So that's, we gotta conceptualize and make sure that we really, and it's really those things where it's like, you make sure you execute just at the right time. Because you understand also, like, your drive, and also you understand how far you want to take it. You know what I mean? And one thing I've learned about you also is that, you understand who you are, where you come from, and where you're going, right? And with that, you never even allow a minor little glitch or a simple no get in the way of who you are. You know you're destined for great things, and you do what? You push towards that. Even in the midst of slipping moments, you literally find yourself again. You're like, nope, I'm gonna push towards that, because I'm made of greatness. I am great. You understand yourself to that extent, and you value yourself to that extent. And that's why I'm like, it's so important for a lot of people to learn from their own journeys and not compare themselves, but know how far they are willing to take it. There's people who we wish they could take it further, but they are comfortable with where they are, and all they could really ask for is comfort, because they come from a place of torment. And I say torment in a sense where that struggle was that bad. They don't want to go back. They just want to be comfortable, because they fear that if they go above that, they could lose everything, because it's now you're risking everything you've worked for. You're risking the foundation you worked for something that you're not overly sure over. And like any other young individuals, like, push and apply yourself, take those risks, reach out to brands, you never know, there'll be someone who's willing to hear you out. Amongst the 35 million people out there on earth, there'll be that one person who'll take the risk on you. You know what I mean? And you just need to take the risk on yourself. And it's something like what you're doing.
Bet on you.
And that's what you're doing every single day, bruh. You are taking the biggest bets. You're like, I'm a gamble here.
Listen.
Because I know
it's possible. Yeah, and I don't know why, and I don't know how. But I think it's important, like you say, I think it's important above and beyond what you do, to really align with who you are. And I think that once you start, I was listening also to a quote that Rihanna said the other day, that it really starts in the inside, and it starts with what you tell yourself, the story you tell yourself, when you're alone, or, when you're not speaking to anyone. And I think only through God, and, like, my journey has definitely brought me closer to God, who's brought me closer to who I am. And a lot of the times I find myself really, like, God confirming who I think I am. You know what I mean? Like, I just have those moments where it's like, oh man, like, I think I am who I think I am. Or that thing of, like, you are who God says you are.
Indeed.
And that's just, I think, a divine experience. And like you say, learning from your journey, being close to God, praying, and just sticking with it, sticking with the thing that you love, I think a couple of years ago, maybe, I don't know if I would have advised someone to take on a creative journey, but what I have learned, also not just from my experience, but from being on this space in time, being on this earth right now, is that everything changes,
Indeed.
and everything expands, and nothing stays the same. So, there was a time where even when I pursued music, everyone was just like, Gabi, what are you going to do with a music career? Why are you studying music? Everyone was asking my parents, like, no, you can't. Your child, is like smart at school. She can study whatever she wants to study and she'll probably do well in that thing. But I think that, the wisdom of maybe my parents at the time was that things change. And I think this is what every person experiences in their life, in their lifetime, something that you took for granted, that you thought jobs were going to be the all end all, or a particular career was going to be the all end all. Things change, when we were seeing a moment in time where like the arts was depicted as a failed kind of career choice, where people were going to end up in this particular situation, or where being an artist was so limited. Now you're seeing that change happen in real time, with the coming of technology and the world being so small. You're seeing opportunities, and not even opportunities, but like choices, grow at an exponential rate, where people had thought that something was so limited is now becoming such a limitless place of existence, and that was just, for me, making that decision, that was purely instinct. And I was like, you know what, I don't know how this is going to work out, but I know this, I love this thing, and I want to pursue this thing. And I didn't even know that creativity was even going to be as big as it is today. I mean, right now, creativity is everything. Creativity is content creation. Creativity is AI. Creativity is interior design. Creativity is fashion. Creativity is, fine art. Creativity is, of course, music. It's sound. It's academia. To think about your practice, or to think about the creative journey, because I get it now, we're saying that, like, I would think when I'm speaking about creativity, I'm juxtaposing it with this idea of like jobs, like security, having a traditional job, or applying for something via job application. Creativity is the opposite of that, and people never thought that creativity had a road, had a trajectory, and only now we're seeing, with this moment of technology, the road kind of making itself clear that, oh man, there is a possibility here,
True.
that wasn't available before. You know what I'm saying? And I think, like we're saying, with every generation, there is change, and the status quo will never stay the same. That I think was the wisdom of my parents, and I think that's the wisdom of many people, even now, who are able to say that, okay, this might be happening now, but I do know that there's a possibility for something else to take place, just like how it happened in my generation. It's going to happen in your generation, so leaning on that, I think, as an artist, I'm always leaning on that. I'm always, I know, I think that's what that quote says, like, change is inevitable. So change is the thing that you can believe that will happen no matter what. Change is the truth. this is the ultimate truth, that things will inevitably change. So yeah, I think that fuels me as a creative, and that's informed my courage over the years.
Sheesh. Dang. I'm a sit in on the words of wisdom, man. That's like pretty wise, man. Like, but change is key and change is inevitable. I think that's something that we've struggled with so many years as black people. And I hate bringing the race card in, but it's the truth. Our fellow people. How can I put it? How can I place it, man? Because if I just say fellow people, it's just like, I don't know.
Fellow people, fellow black people.
But our fellow black people are stuck. Some of them are stuck to a certain era because of the fear of change. And unfortunately, we don't realize that change could bring fruitful things, fruitful opportunities. It could bring fruitful, life changes. It could bring great health. It could bring a lot of things could come out of just allowing ourselves to change. We'll be opening up ourselves to newer experiences. It's the same thing how you place it, like even prayer. Is that I'm still learning how to pray further. I'm not a master at it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's because it's like life when you're young is confusing. And one thing my mom left me with this morning was the thing of you don't know what type of world we're in, right? Because we're relying on what the eye can see, but there's a lot that the eye can't see, right? That's just the world. You know what I mean? It's a spiritual battle more than it is a physical battle. So you need to, no matter what, pray and build and nurture that relationship with God, because it's so easy for us to get lost in the things of the world and those things to drown us, or kind of like allow us to be nonchalant. You know what I mean? Like, nah, but 1, 2, and 3, but you don't know what's happening around you. So when you're strong in prayer or you're armored in prayer, it's a lot easier for you to live, because you know that no matter what, even if the things of the world and the things around you go away, you're protected. You know what I mean? You'll always be protected. You know what I mean? No matter where you are in the world, you'll always be protected. You don't have to stress yourself about, hey, my bank account just got emptied. You don't have to stress yourself about like the next paycheck, because God will provide.
Yeah.
And sometimes we'll be like, no, but I'm gonna fight. You'll fight and strain yourself and realize, dude, all you needed to do was wait. All you needed to do was sit back.
You know the wisdom in that is so powerful. But outside of prayer, I think being something that is speaking to like the supernatural, it also speaks to, like we're saying, like in my journey, in my testimony, I was a jazz musician 15 years ago when I was studying jazz, and when the first I was doing the first album, etc. But what I'm trying to say is that I could have never anticipated what technology was gonna do, or the influence of technology within my field. You know what I mean? So this is also where prayer comes in. It's like you can't see over the bend. You can't see. You can only see as far as your eye can see. You can't see where another person is in another place in the world, or you can't see. Oh my dog is making so much noise. I'm sorry. You can't see, an industry, what they've discovered. You can't see what someone else has invented in Asia. You can't see a discovery that's been made, in the science field, in the medical field, in the technology field. And that's where prayer comes in. You're hoping that whatever is being invented or innovated is in your favor. That's where we pray and ask God to say, you know what, as we're moving forward in this life, and as things are developing, as things are growing, I'm praying that it is aligned with the things that I have that I have intended for. And I think that that's why, God says, like, I have plans to prosper you and not to harm you. And this is what it's about. It's like all these things that we think are new and that are presenting change. We pray inevitably that they are there, that God makes them there to prosper us and not to harm us. Just like, with AI, when there's so much fear and people are like, oh my goodness, it's going to take my job, or this and that, but we're not able to see how this thing is going to prosper, like, a person who has always had a trouble with a 9-to-5 job, or who's always had a difficulty working under somebody. That's what my dad, that was his testimony. He hated working for people and he had to do it. You know what I mean? But technology presented him with an opportunity to be his own boss. You know what I mean? So it's like, that's where prayer comes in. It's like, as these pieces in the world move, as these different puzzle pieces come together, let them move in my favor. Let me be, and my I guess my interventions and my ideas, let them be aligned with these things, and let these things propel me forward. Propel me. Let them give me wind to move into where I want to be. You know what I'm saying? So prayer is not just for, protection against, the supernatural world, or, people's bad will and all that. Prayer is for progress, as we progress. You know what I mean? It's just like, let's say, for instance, 10 years ago, I decided to be, I don't know, like a teacher or something. That wouldn't have been good for me, because as we can see right now, teaching is becoming obsolete, because there's homeschooling now. People are not able to pay school fees because there's so much high unemployment. There's so many teachers being retrenched. The government is experiencing such challenges within the education field. You know what I mean? Like, that wouldn't have been wise for me to do back then. You know what I mean? So, like, through prayer, and also like my parents praying, they're praying that, man, I'm praying that the decisions that you make today are going to be aligned with the progress that is being made tomorrow.
That is wisdom right there. But that's also true, it's the same thing. My mom was telling me the other day also. It's like, we reap what we sow. And if in order to reap good things, or fruitful things, you need to sow fruitful things. You need to sow good things. You know what I mean? You need to do good to get good. I know people are like, no, but my brother, once you do, like, no, you can't live in that world where you think, no, you're gonna be that person who's gonna be mugging things. Life doesn't work like that,
Exactly.
So we need to find a way where it's like, you've balanced everything, but also you understand where you are circumstantially. So okay, cool, these are the circumstances, guys. This is what's happening, right? But this is where we stand as a whole in life. What do I need to do? What do I need to change that? Like how your father said, okay, I don't like working for people, but technology has availed opportunities for me to be my own boss, so I don't have to rely on, you know what I mean, the day-to-day. You know what I mean? Because that shit is exhausting. You know what I mean? So look at the progress and look at how far you've come in life, right? And just to say, like, the next kid, when they listening to this episode, they're gonna get to learn a lot. They're gonna get to be inspired, but also it's like, there's wisdom. Words of wisdom, bruh. Words of wisdom.
Man, we're dropping gems, my nigga.
Yeah, no, it's gems of gems. Goddamn.
Gems of gems.
But to whoever's, listening in, we just hope that, the most important thing is like you keep on pushing, remain consistent, stay persistent towards your dreams, man. You know what I mean? Be resilient. And like the title of the song or the title of this episode is "This is the first truth, bitter it may be." Bitter as it may be. Yes.
Yeah.
I got it right. God damn. But yeah, this is the first truth. And it's like, if you're young and you're still looking into finding your way throughout life, understand this episode. It is the first truth. You know what I mean? It could be better. Could be like, yo, bruh, gotta adapt to change, and maybe you gotta let go of certain habits to allow yourself to adapt to change. But most important thing, put yourself first in life. Keep pushing, and don't forget, take care of your mental health. Just really, 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 because as young people, a lot of young people are going through it, with the amount of stress, frustration from just the pressure on the world, pressure from family. So it's like, put yourself first and understand where you're trying to take your journey in life, and watch everything else, play out the way it needs to play out. For as long as you stay consistent and focused, you'll be fine. And do good, by the way. Do good.
And do good.
Yeah. Don't be a villain.
Yeah, for sure.
Don't be trying to be Joker out here. Be Batman.
For sure.
But yeah, man. Till the next episode, guys. With love. Take care. Peace.
Peace.